You said to me, Steph, you will never get more from life than what you demand. It really stuck with me because I was like, you're right. Like if I keep settling for less, I can't then complain about having less.
The problem that most people encounter is they start running these DM ads or they start running a DM process and they expect every single person to buy immediately. What you guys need to know is that 3% of a market are ready to have their problem solved at any moment. If you guys have 1,000 people, 3% of them are ready, which is 30 people. You need to find those 3%, okay? Even if you get someone DM you and they have the problem, they're maybe just not ready. They don't have the finances, it's not the right time, they've got something coming up, they've got an event. You need to know that coaching, service businesses, whatever you run, it's a long game. It's not a short game. Welcome to episode 138 of the Success School podcast. Today we have a Q&A episode. We've got 5 questions that we're going to run through today and answer for you. So these have come from Instagram, DMs, or polls, etc. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask us, please send us a message on Instagram and we'll include it in our next Q&A episode. Steph, how are you feeling?
I'm great. We got some spicy questions today. We're going to be going through some pretty spicy stuff like what do you do when people stop paying you halfway through a contract? How do you create urgency and get people to buy now and not later? Got some private questions too about our private hormone health and how we're handling transitions with our hormones. And I mean, we're getting into our later years. So anyway, it's exciting. Lots of cool stuff to talk about.
Our later years?
Our later
What does that even mean?
What's
a later year?
Yeah, what is a later year? I'd love to know. Kick us off.
Yeah, so we have been, actually, we moved to Thailand and we met a friend of ours named Kitty. She does online fitness and, if you guys don't know, I have a master's degree in strength conditioning. I've been in fitness forever. But basically, inadvertently, she didn't really say this, but she said we train like pussies.
She would say that.
She would say that, but she didn't say that. And I was like, fuck, this bitch is right. So from that moment, I was like, put on my strength coach hat and I wrote us a program. Basically, we're chasing performance. Okay. And what that means is you can never really build a great physique if you don't train hard because great physiques are built by having to produce a performance for something. So the stronger you get, technically the better you look.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's the whole thing with training for performance. Like athletes look a certain way because they train for that. Therefore they look great. They're lean, they're strong, they're all those type of things. So I've kind of been guilty of going to the gym for the last couple of years and just like doing the bare minimum and really rarely pushing myself. So what we decided is Steph and I were going to train together, which, some people are probably freaking out being like, I can't train with my husband or partner or whatever that is. We did a testing week. So basically we got all our numbers and then we're following a strict, science-based program and I'm fucking hurting. So I'm hurting.
I think that when you really want an outcome, you should absorb yourself in the thing.
Yeah.
One of the outcomes that we both want is to get really, really jacked and hot and rich in Thailand. Rich is actually last on the list because we've been consuming a lot of that for a long time. So
we're
jacked and hot, and we're doing all right. So jacked and hot is the definite number one priority. So every night on YouTube, we're watching like nutrition, we're watching people work out, we're watching all sorts of stuff. And one thing that's kind of come through and true the whole time has been this sentiment of like, you need to do more every time. So just talk through that concept because I think it probably applies to business also. Yeah.
So like your body basically only adapts if it knows that things are getting harder each week. So in a gym program, if you don't push your weights or try to improve your weights each week, your body's not going to send the signal to adapt and grow and change. So if you're going to the gym doing the same shit every week, not really getting stronger or trying to push your weights, there's no signal being sent to your body to adapt. So a lot of people go to the gym and they fart around, they do fuck all, text on their phone.
Well, yeah, that too. And they just do this. Like for me, I was guilty of just doing the same weights. Like I would go and do my shoulder like raises and I did like 5 kilos every time, every week, in and out. And it's there's literally no point going. Like you may as well not go. Is that right?
You're literally probably like, wasting your energy there.
Yes. Yeah. Which was interesting. And I think it's like, I think there is probably a direct correlation to business in the way that like if you keep doing the thing you've always done and you don't push it, you don't change it, you don't try and experiment and do new things, you're probably going to get the same results you've always got.
Yeah.
And so if you want change, you have to do something different, which is just like frustratingly obvious.
It's funny.
Applies across the board.
We have our retreat in 2 days actually. So when you guys listen to this, it's a little bit after, but we have a retreat and I've prepared this presentation about like the 9 things that are working right now in business. And let me tell you guys, none of them are easy to execute, okay? Because business has gotten so much harder, like recently. And just doing the same shit that used to work, like posting in Facebook groups or making 3 times a week content on Instagram, that shit just doesn't work anymore. And all the strategies of things that are working right now are hard because the barrier to entry for that shit is way harder. Totally. Same with the gym. So like the thing we're talking about right now is like going harder to get a better result. Like there's a difference between going to the gym, working out, and going to the gym and training. And that's the same with business as well. You need to be intentional with trying to grow your business.
Absolutely. So my personal update is that, I'm just really going to give myself a little pat on the back here, mostly.
Self-jerk.
It's a bit of a self-jerk. I feel like I figured something out that's taken me a long time to figure out. You guys have heard about it a little. You guys have heard about it a little bit. We've spoken a little bit about the webinars we've been running. And webinars have become a key conversion strategy for us. And we've been really playing with them a lot over the last 12 to 18 months. And we sucked for a good portion of that time. And I didn't really know what to do to get better except for...
Speak for yourself. I still suck.
We didn't really know what to do to get better except for just do more of them. So like we would just do one a month and we'd just change stuff. But there was no structure or just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what stuck and then trying to dissect it afterwards. But after finally actually doing some deep research on people who are killing it in the webinar space and reading a lot of books and truly understanding a lot more about it and speaking directly with our mentors, I have come to a point where I truly have a webinar strategy that produces every single time. And it's like clockwork. And it's exciting. And it feels good. And it's really like what most people who teach webinars will teach you is they'll tell you to teach nothing. And I think that's fucking lame. Like, why would you get on someone's webinar and then just hear them speak air at you? Like, as an entrepreneur, your time is the most valuable resource that you have. So if you're going to spend 90 minutes with me, I want to make it the most valuable 90 minutes you've ever spent with somebody. And I also want to create enough gap so that if you don't know how to execute, or if you do want support, or if you don't have the strategy in place, then you can book a call with our team and have a chat with us and we can walk through the process of what it would look like to work together. But I don't think that has to be either or. And most webinar people have been teaching us like, oh, you give too much away. And we found that actually the more
quite the opposite.
It's quite the opposite the more we give. And look, there's a strategy behind it, blah, 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 blah. We teach to our clients. But at the end of the day, I think we've got it. It feels really good. It feels in integrity.
Yeah.
It's making us money.
Yeah.
It's just a win-win situation.
I just want to go into like the concept of foundational campaign. So webinars for us is something we would call a foundational campaign. What that essentially means is we have it working, we have it dialed in, we put money in, we get money out, it gets a result for us. So what you do when you have a foundational campaign, you might have one, you might not have one in your business. You put that in the shit that works pile and you try to do more shit. Okay, that's essentially how you grow a business. You want to keep stacking foundational campaigns together. So for us, we know that this podcast is a foundational campaign for us. We know webinars are a foundational campaign for us. We know posting on Instagram every single day, even though less effective than the previous two, is a foundational campaign for us. And I think a lot of the times people they haven't really got their one, or they haven't really got a foundational campaign. They're trying to like do 5 or 10 at the same time and they're just doing them all shit.
Yeah.
We tried webinars for 18 months before we actually got good at them.
Yeah.
I think we're like on a 20-something, so now we're doing them every single week, so we're getting even better faster. But a lot of people never really go hard enough to build that one foundational campaign, therefore they can't scale their business.
It's kind of like that stopping 3 feet from gold thing, right? Where you're digging, and then you're probably almost close to cracking it, and then it's not working, you kind of give up and you go over to TikTok or you go over somewhere else and do something different. It's like you're so close to cracking that thing. If you just stuck at it, you probably would have figured it out. Like we could have given up on webinars at the month 7 point and we wanted to. We literally cancelled a webinar. And then we were like, no, we said we were going to do it, so we should do it, and we didn't. And now it's our best performing thing. So yeah. Anyway, should we get into Q&A?
Yeah, first one's got your name all over it. So this is Justin B, and this is for the Queenie of Sales. How do I create urgency when prospects keep saying maybe later?
If you're getting to the end of a call and you're handling an objection at the end of the call, that tells me that something's not happening at the beginning of the call. So if you've studied any kind of sales, what you will learn is that if you're getting objections, then you haven't done your discovery well enough. Now, any call, for anyone who's a bit new to sales here, any call will go through 4 different phases. So you'll go through discovery, you'll go through kind of a gap creation, you'll go through an offer presentation, and then you'll go through objection handling. But you should already know the types of objections you're going to get by the end of a call. Like in Justin's case, I'm assuming he's run enough calls to know that he's getting a maybe later objection, right? So if you know that that's going to be a objection that you get, you want to start raising that at the beginning of the call. Now, there's two different ways that you can do it. When you're asking questions, so specifically to Justin's question here, when you're asking questions at the beginning of the call, which is your discovery section. So this is like, where are you at now? What do you want? Like, what's holding you back? In our world, it'd be like, how do you get leads? How do you get sales? Where do you generate most of your clients from? How much are you spending on ads? How many team members do you have? Like, you go into like really deeply understanding their business or their pain or what they're going through and what they've tried, okay? And in that section, you would ask them a question like, right, cool. And so is this problem that you're facing right now that's costing you X amount of dollars, is this a problem that's worth solving sooner or later? Like, are you trying to solve this now? And then you can even go deeper and kind of create a cost of inaction. So like, let's say, and I can only speak like Justin, I'm going to speak directly to my things. I don't sell your thing. But like, if I was to sell business coaching, and let's say that someone came on and they're currently at 10K a month and they want to get to $20,000 a month. I would ask questions like, okay, so if you know that you want to get to $20,000 a month, then every month that you don't get there, that leaves another $10,000 on the table, right? And they're going to go, yeah. And then I'll quickly just like do some math. And I'll be like, okay, so that's $120,000 a year that you won't get if you don't make the changes. Is that right? And they go, yeah. And so you're kind of getting this like, okay, well, now there's some urgency because like no one wants to leave $120,000 a year on the table. And then I'd be like, okay, so this, and the reason that you can't get there is because you don't have enough leads, right? Yeah. And so that's a $120,000 problem to solve, is it? And they're like, yeah, obviously. Now there's a lot of
big problem.
There's a lot of internal urgency being created for this person. Then you could say something along the lines of, so could you agree that now would probably be the right time to go all in on solving this problem?
Yeah.
This is probably the biggest problem that is worth solving and probably worth investing in. So you want to create that natural sense of urgency in somebody. And oftentimes the fastest and best way to do that is by creating a cost of inaction, by really actually adding up, okay, if we keep going down this path 6 months, 12 months down the line, like where are you actually going to be and how much is it going to cost you? And that will naturally wake up a sense of urgency inside the person on the other end.
Yeah.
So in Justin's case, if they're saying maybe later, it's either a smokescreen objection that they can't see the value, they don't think it's right for them, or you haven't created enough pain and tension in the first 20 minutes of the call for them to see that this is a problem worth solving today.
Yeah. Let's talk about getting good at sales. Like, how important is it for a business owner? Because obviously this is just like a sales thing that Justin needs to work on and get better at. But, a lot of people come to us like, we're obviously like, we teach marketing, we teach you how to get leads and whatnot. But the other end of the spectrum is selling as well. We've had a bit of an experience recently where we've just got a really good salesperson, probably our second ever that we had. And it's fucking crazy when you get a good salesperson.
Yeah. I think having an understanding of sales in business, look, it depends what you're selling. Like, if you're selling something that everyone wants, then you can be shit at sales. Like, if you were selling, if right now, like a really great market to be in right now is like selling peptides. Like, if you were selling, everyone wants peptides, you can get on with the shit of salesperson, they'd just give me the peptides, right?
Yeah.
If you were selling Ozempic, you would have the exact same, it would just be, it's fine. Everyone wants it. You would be fine to sell that. If you're selling crypto in the middle of a boom, you're going to be fine. You could have the world's worst salesperson, right? If you're selling based off of referrals, like let's say that somebody, if you're in fitness and a big influencer has recommended you or something and you get a shit ton of referrals, you can have a shit salesperson or a shit sales process. But when it gets tough and when it gets competitive, you need to learn sales. And the fastest way to learn sales is not to go do like Shelby Sapp's course or Cole Gordon's course. Like, you don't need to do that stuff, okay? The fastest way to learn is to make sure you're recording all of your calls and then you're getting transcripts of those recordings and you're going into AI and you're saying, why am I getting this objection? You're putting the transcript in and it's going to help you to actually give you those questions to ask at the beginning of the calls. And you need to do that every single time you run a sales call. Now, we have automated zaps in our business that do this. So do you want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah. So we have an automated zap named Gian. He's actually a virtual assistant and he's not,
so it's not automated zap.
No, it's not automated at all. So I wrote this mega prompt and basically it breaks down, like Steph said before, the 4 parts of the sales process, rates them on how they went in terms of how the client or the prospect responded to it, and then he posts that in our Slack channel for call reviews. And then each of them's like rated on a scale of 1 to 10. And then us as the sales managers, we can see exactly what's going wrong and right.
And the thing I love about that prompt is that it tells you how to fix it. It's like, okay, if you ask this question at the beginning, you'll get less of this.
Yeah.
It's really genius. And guys, all of you have access to AI. All of you have access. Like, record your calls. Just have your Zoom set up so it's always recording. Pop your transcripts in, or get your VA to do it and send it to you at the end of every day. And you will learn so much so fast by doing that. All right. Second question is from Elin G. She said, why am I getting ghosted in DMs, and how do I fix my nurture sequence? 2 questions, but go in.
Yeah, so I teach Facebook ads in our portal, and I teach people how to run DM ads. There's basically 2 types of DM ads that you can run. So there's cold and warm. If you think about like a buying cycle or a buying process in a coaching type business or a service business, usually that process is long. The problem that most people encounter is they start running these DM ads, or they start running a DM process, and they expect every single person to buy immediately, which is obviously like a dumb move and a dumb mind frame to be in. So what you guys need to know is that 3% of a market are ready to have their problem solved at any moment. So if you guys have 1,000 people, 3% of them are ready, which is 30 people. Then you need to find those 3%. Okay. Even if you get someone DM you and they have the problem, they're maybe just not ready. They don't have the finances. It's not the right time. They've got something coming up. They've got an event. You need to know that coaching, service businesses, whatever you run, it's a long game. It's not a short game. So I think there's probably an expectation that Elin has here that she's getting ghosted in the DMs, and it's right now. She is probably getting ghosted because I've seen Elin's DMs and maybe she's going a little bit too hard at the start. So, the analogy for this one is a lot of people go into DMs and they try to hit a home run like immediately on the first base.
Yeah.
So the analogy here is they're trying to hit a home run on the first date with someone. So they're trying to go for literally all 4 bases. A better strategy is to give value in the DMs and then ask if they want some help from there. I haven't seen the exact process on this. Steph, do you just want to go through DM process? I know you just taught this in Success School. So what should a good process look like for DMs?
Yeah. So you want to open with a pretty easy message, unless they've messaged you, which is also great. But you never want to skip any of these things. So you want to understand first and foremost, you want to know what their goal is. So are they trying to, shred for a competition, or what is it that they want? Then you want to go through a little bit about where they are now. So let's say if they're wanting to lose 10 kilos, okay, are we losing 10 kilos from 80 kilos, or are we losing 10 kilos from 140 kilos? Where are we losing 10 kilos? And then you want to go through what they've tried, because you don't want to suggest to them things that they've already tried. So let's say they've done keto, they've done carbivore. That sounds like my kind of diet. Yeah. They've done, carnivore, they've done the Atkins diets, whatever. I'm going through the most random diets. But let's say they've tried a ton of different stuff and it hasn't worked for them. And then you want to say, okay, cool. Well, look, there's some things you probably haven't tried. Are you open to getting some help with this? You don't want to just go in and pitch and go really hard. So the thing is that where these go wrong, and I've seen Elin's messages as well, it's not even that she's going too hard too fast, it's that she's talking too much. So these questions should be fairly short, and you shouldn't really need to have, if I open up your phone right now in your DMs and I can see mostly blue, in the DM, which means that it's huge paragraphs and sentences from you, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, they should be talking
They
more.
should be talking more than you should be talking. If that's the case, you're just over speaking to them and it's too hard for them to read. It becomes too exhausting. It's too hard to respond. Then you just get ghosted. So I think short and sweet. Follow all of those processes and you'll win.
I just want to go into a bit of detail on the nurture sequence. So where nurture sequences go wrong with people, and this is email, text, this is whatever it is. Imagine someone's given you their email address or their phone number or whatever it is, and you immediately start peppering them with buy my shit, book a call, buy my shit, book a call, buy my shit, book a call. Obviously, they're going to be like, whoa, dude, calm the fuck down. We don't even know each other yet. It's like the dating analogy again. Maybe Elin's just needs to work on her dating here. What you want to think about with these is if someone's given you their details, you just want to give them value and then have a really casual offer to help them. Okay. So I call it a super signature if we're talking about email specifically. Say email has a point, provide value, take them to a resource, give them more value. Then at the bottom, hey, by the way, if you found this valuable and you want some help, click the link here and then they can get the thing. I think a lot of people their nurture is hard sales and that's where they're going wrong. Let's get into question 3. This is from Lara. How do I handle clients who just can't afford payments mid-program? This is classic because we just went through messaging, which is funny.
So I think that the question here is a bit of a smokescreen, to be honest. And I think that what she's asking is a problem, but the problem is actually a symptom of a much larger problem at play here. So what she's asking is, how do I handle clients who can't afford payments mid-program? That tells me, and the fact I've looked at this for Lara, that tells me that you have the wrong people in your program. Like, there's a difference between they can't see the value and they're trying to opt out, or they're canceling because they think that they haven't got what they paid for. That's a very different thing.
Yeah.
And that's not what's happening in this case. These people are literally running out of money mid-program. And just to be really clear, Lara does a fitness offer. And so it's not that she helps them make money. So there's no ROI that's been promised at all in this regard. The problem is that Lara is selling a fairly premium ticket thing to a bunch of people who are still usually living at home with their parents, who are kind of working everyday retail jobs. And the minute that a bill comes in, or the minute that they have to get their car serviced, or they lose their job, there's no cash reserves. Like, there's nothing left over for these people. And the thing is that they always really, like, people in this category, so I would call this the people that we probably shouldn't be selling to category, okay? And specifically for her, it's Gen Zs. They're young, you know?
Yeah.
And so they don't have they're not sitting on a cushion. Like, they maybe have they're living paycheck to paycheck. And so they can afford it this week, but they're not planning 5, 6, 7 weeks in advance on whether they're still going to be able to afford stuff. They haven't thought about the fact that their rego is going to be due in 6 weeks. Like, Lord, I know that when I was in my early mid to mid 20s, every rego was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to pay rego.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like rude. Oh my God, I got an electricity bill that comes every 2 months that I just forgot about. And so if you sell to those people, you're going to have a really hard time getting a premium price point out of them. Like, they will just run out of money. And so a better thing to do is to sell to people who are not those people. And so we're talking, in this case, you could still sell to Gen Zs, but you want to sell to people who have coming straight, one, there's tons of rich families that have rich kids, okay, first and foremost. 2, you have people who are coming straight out of university that are getting $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 jobs. You got FIFO people. There's plenty of options around. Just don't sell to the girls who are struggling to get by, you know? And I think when you make that transition out of that kind of, I hate to say it, but brokey market, that's when you start to not have these sorts of problems.
Yeah. Okay. I know what's probably coming up here. If you're listening to this right now and you do sell to people that don't have, huge financial means behind them, and you're like, oh, how do I even start? Or will it work, or will they buy my shit? And I can't remember the prolific thing I said to you in the car 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
About you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah. When we were looking at changing our offer, which I know we spoke about on one of our more recent podcast episodes.
Your recent podcast episodes.
I said one of our most recent podcast episodes. Look at him. My goodness. We spoke about
my podcast. You hijacked it.
I did. That is the truth. That is actually very true. Should be called the Tim Frey Show.
Yeah.
But we were talking about changing our offer and increasing our prices, and I wobbled because I'm normal. I'm normal. I'm human. I wouldn't know if I'm normal. And I'm human, and I wobble when things are scary and when things are unknown. And you said to me, Steph, you will never get more from life than what you demand. It really stuck with me because I was like, you're right. If I keep settling for less, I can't then complain about having less.
Funny story, actually. I was with our content guy, content manager, content everything.
Content
King the other day. And we were doing a reel on $5,000 client versus $500 client. And what you want to think about here is typically the people that pay you more, they get better results. They don't hassle you. They don't leave you alone. They don't give you a hard time. And everything's just great because that's just the type of person or the client they are. But the $500 client, they're fucking usually can be a bit of a pain in the ass across niches as well. And what Lara is experiencing in this situation is she's just selling to the wrong market and she's having a lot of problems with them.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast episode right now and you're like, I need to change my market, I agree. Yes, you do.
Yeah,
because it's not fun selling to poor people.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're inside Success School, we are going to be running a messaging workshop coming up shortly on how to stop attracting brokies and how to attract rich buyers instead. So I'm super excited for that. Tim, let's get into question number 4, our second last question of today, which is a very personal one for you. How is TRT going?
Yes, TRT is going fantastic. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate the question. I will give my perspective and then I'll get Steph to give her perspective on it. Obviously, having a partner that's witness to this as a third person is also a great thing to do. But
third person between you and who?
TRT.
TRT Tim and not TRT Tim.
So, I was feeling a bit flat, a bit low, a bit anxious, a little bit depressed, getting a bit fat, getting a bit loose around the edges. My drive wasn't super high. And I spoke to our doctor. I got my sperm frozen and he was like, yep, you can get on TRT. And I was like, okay, fantastic. Sign me up. Where do I jab this thing? Got on it and I honestly believe it's the best drug in the world. Like immediate, like first line cocaine energy all the time. Not that I've ever done that, but I'd imagine what that's like. From there, like happy, great mood, no anxiety, no depression, like driven all day. I can do like a 12, 14 hour day sitting in front of a computer, like grinding, no problem. Definitely happier. And this isn't like a prescription. I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm not trying to tell you what dosing to take. That's beyond the point here. But I think in terms of like a man and trying to be the leader for our company, it's been one of the best things I have ever done. I want to get your perspective. So Tim, TRT-less versus TRT Tim. What's been the big difference from like as the partner besides obviously the libido?
I think... outside of libido. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is overall mood enhancement. Like there's two things. So one, there's the overall mood enhancement. So just overall, you're happier, you're more playful, you're more energetic, those sorts of things like that. That's really important. Like you kind of set the mood for our household because you're the leader of our household. So when you're happy, everyone's kind of pretty happy around you. So that's for the most part, except for when I'm being psycho. So that's super helpful. The second part of this is that when this is your capacity. You just have so much more capacity to handle stuff. So, the level of work that Tim is currently taking off my plate so that we can prepare for IVF, so that we can prepare for going to a new season, so I'm not stressed, or getting my body and my health levels like really adjusted to being able to get pregnant and have a child. You're taking a lot more stuff on your plate. So we're growing a company at the same time. We're growing a team at the same time as I'm working the least I've ever worked. And so that's a lot on your shoulders. And in Perth, you probably would have been having panic attacks and been really stressed and not being able to hold it. And I would have been taking things back off your plate to try and help you out. But we're not having to do that. And that's true, down to two things. Definitely the TRT, but also the lifestyle here is a lot less that we have to do around the house and stuff like that, which is just so helpful. Yeah.
Strongly recommend, guys, if you're thinking about doing TRT or if multiple people have told you to look into it, I would suggest looking into it. Let's go into our final and fifth question from Maddie D. What should my ratio be of nurture emails versus selling emails? I will hit this one first. So it depends what kind of business you run. I find people with emailing, they sit in two camps. One camp is I'm not going to hard sell people at all and I'm just going to send these like pretty vague emails. And the other one is like sell at all costs. I'll sell anything. I'll sell every day basically my email. So it depends what camp you sit in. You might be somewhere in the middle, and this is where I think Maddie is in the middle of this. I'm all for like the 80-20 rule. 80% value, 20% hard selling. Depends if you're in a launch or what you're trying to promote. Typically for me, I will go more like a value in the email. I will give them some kind of value or a link or a takeaway or a long form or something like that. And then in the CTA, I'll be like, hey, by the way, if you want some more intensive help with this, we can do X, Y, Z. A bit similar to the question above. Anything I missed with that one?
No. So I think like I would categorize nurture emails versus selling emails in two different ways. I think your selling emails are like, hey, I have this offer. It's an offer that I'm running right now. I'm running it for the next 7 days. You should buy it. And then you should also obviously send a lot of emails about that thing. But you don't want to be sending those emails every day. Like you want to be structured about those emails. Like you want to do maybe 80-20, 20% of your month, you might want to send those, or 20% of your week, you might want to send those. I think that's a really nice ratio. So when we talk about nurture emails, people might be wondering like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is a nurture email? And so you've talked a bit about value. Yeah. And I think that like I'll let you go into what that means for you. The other type of nurture email that we see perform really well is story-based nurture emails. Yep. And so these are, hey, I woke up this morning and I felt really off. And here's what I did to get into the right headspace. And if you're struggling in your business right now and you are feeling like you are overwhelmed and you can't make good decisions, you can't make clear decisions, here's my 1, 2, 3 step on it. And actually I also have a long form, YouTube video where I break this down. You can watch that here. And so you're telling a story about something that's happening, that's a real time thing. And then you're linking it to something that's really valuable, so hence value emails. And then at the bottom, you got the super signature, which we spoke to before. So I think when it comes like nurture emails, the fastest and easiest way to do nurture emails is just storytelling. It's tell stories about your clients, tell stories about yourself, tell stories about your life, find ways to connect all of those things. I could literally make a story connect to a business in any single way, shape, or form. Like I could talk about my toe and then be like, and then when you stub your toe, things are hard, you got to get up from your challenges. And that's just like business. Like I could connect anything to being back to business. And the better you become at that skill, the easier it's going to be for you to create more emails.
Yeah, I'll just finish off with selling emails. I've found I've sent millions of emails literally over the last couple of years, like literally millions of emails.
We've had literally thousands and thousands of people unsubscribe because of the hardcoreness of our sales emails at some points. So we've learned the hard way.
The best type of sales emails include this one thing, and that one thing is client proof. So if you're selling a point, you're selling a program, you're selling something, you're selling ads, whatever it is, make sure you have screenshots or screen grabs of clients who've actually won with that. That just makes it way more believable and get someone to hit the next step with whatever you're in at the moment.
Guys, that's it for our Q&A. If you want to be featured on our next Q&A, just make sure to keep your eyes on our stories because we do put up question boxes. We'd love for you guys to engage. Shout out to Justin, Elin, Lara, Justin, and Maddie. We appreciate you guys so much for jumping in and asking us questions. And if you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would share it with a friend or tell your friends about it. We're trying to grow the podcast at the moment, so please subscribe. Please share it with a friend.
Steph, I'm feeling good. Let's do share the show.
Don't be a hoe.
Let's go. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.